In the Talmud and Tractate Megillah, Rabbi Yonatan teaches, Kol makom shene'emar vayehi eino ela lishon sa'ar. Anywhere that the Hebrew word vayehi is found, it's an ominous term indicating nothing other than impending grief. For example, in Megillat Esther, the Megillah that we read on Purim, it starts with the words, Vayehi bimei Achashverosh. And it came to pass in the days of Achashverosh. And the text informs us that this led to grief because we have the evil character Haman, and he caused the Jewish people a lot of grief in that story. Rav Ashi tightens the argument, and he says, Kol vayehi ichahachi ve'ikahachi. Vayehi bimei eino ela lishon sa'ar. Whenever we come across the word vayehi alone, Rav Ashi says, without being followed by the word bimei, sometimes it's going to lead to grief and sometimes it's going to lead to joy. However, when we come across both words, vayehi bimei, and it came in the days of, in our Tanakh, then 100% it's going to set the reader up for impending grief. Now it so happens that Megillat Ruth that we read earlier today, chapter 1, this Megillah that's connected with Shavuot, it begins with the words, Vayehi bimei. Vayehi bimei shvot hashoftim. And it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled. In this situation, it's clearly a case of impending grief, as the next words are, Vayehi ra'av ba'aretz. There was a famine in the land, and famine is never a good sign. These opening words led me to think, what era are we in? Is this a period of grief, or is this a period of something else for the Jewish people? When the Jewish history books are written about October 7th, and this new post-October 7th reality that we are finding ourselves in, will the book start with the fraught words, Vayehi bimei, or just Vayehi? There will be a few different narratives about this time, as there usually are, and the external threat is real. I will never minimize that. But when we look back at the history books, in the days, in the weeks, in the months after October 7th, I hope we remember that it was a time of renewed Jewish unity, of Achdut, and that the book will start with Vayehi, not with Vayehi bimei. The difference between now and other times in history is that we have a democratic state of Israel, and we have power, and we have allies, and we have technology that can connect us and defend us. 3 short stories to demonstrate Achdut, and all 3 are less than a week old. The first took place here on Shabbat morning. We all awoke to the news that Noah Argamani and Shlomi Ziv and Almog Meir Jan and Andrei Kolzov, that they were rescued from Gaza alive. And some of us only found out when we walked into shul. There was so much hugging and crying in this building on Shabbat morning. In the Little Minyan, we learned that a nephew of a congregant who lives in Israel was one of the soldiers on the mission that rescued the hostages. Someone connected to this community. Reb Steve even said that there was a lighter feeling in this building for the first time in ages. And when we concluded with Hatikva and said the words, Od lo avda tikvatenu, we have not yet abandoned our faith, I felt a sense of renewal. I think we all felt it, that there was a renewed sense of faith, knowing that some hostages were alive. At some point during Shabbat afternoon, my 9-year-old Ariella, she questioned her reaction to the news, and she asked me why she cared so much. My response was, it's because they are our family. And it's the same reason why the bathers on the beach in Tel Aviv, if you saw that video, they cheered when a lifeguard shared the news that the hostages had been rescued. Yeah? For 250 days, these people have been on our minds, yomam v'layla, day and night. Noah, Shlomi, Almog, and Andre, they are our family. They are part of us. We don't know them, but we care so deeply about them and their well-being. And we all mourn Arnon Zamora Zichrono Livracha, the hero who lost his life in the rescue operation. We mourn him because we are one. Number 2, Sunday, the UJA Walk with Israel. What a day! 50,000 people came out to support Israel. And if you weren't there and you haven't seen any of the pictures for whatever reason, it just looked like a sea of blue and white with some red as far as the eyes could see. It reminded me of the Israelites crossing the sea, even if it was just Bathurst Street. I bumped into people from every single stage of my life. Friends from when I was a kid and a teen, and from USY, and from Camp Katanim and Camp Ramah, from when I was a university student at the university I don't talk about that I went to. I bumped into tons of family. I bumped into other local rabbis. I bumped into almost all of the people who went on the Beth Tzedec Israel mission, and of course, so many of you who are sitting here. We just showed up. And together, we showed our love for Israel. The UJA Federation 55th Walk for Israel, or Walk with Israel, which thank God is not 25 kilometers anymore, was peaceful and inspiring and uplifting, and it was unifying. There was a sense of Achdut that I cannot remember ever feeling before in this city. The atmosphere was filled with positivity. Which leads me to the third story. And the third story is the story of Moishi Cohen. You might wonder who Moishi Cohen is. Aaron and I think that he is an angel in a human form. So after the walk with Israel, like many of you, I was tired. Aaron was tired, Ariella was tired, the pain in my arthritic leg was way past a 10. We had figured out our start plan, but we never quite made it to our end plan. We didn't get that far in our planning. And so we walked south on Bathurst, and then west on Shepherd, and then south again, and we got ourselves to a street in the manor called McAllister. We called one Uber, then we called another, and they kept canceling on us. For whatever reason, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that all the streets were closed. That's what I'm going to say it was. But it was, kind of rainy and drizzly, and, my kid was tired. And then a man wearing a kippah and an adorable little boy with tzitzit flying and this huge Bukharian kippah that covered his entire head, this big. They came out of the house across the street from where we were standing and started walking to his car. Aaron yelled out to him, "Any chance you're going south?" And the man said, "Yep, hop in." And we did. Don't listen, Mom, if you're listening online. His son, Nehemiah, and Ariella, and me, we sat in the back seat while Aaron sat up front with Moishi Cohen. And because he lived in the neighborhood, Moishi knew what to do with all of the closed streets and all of the construction in the Clanton Park area. He literally drove us to my brother's house on Shelbourne, where we had parked earlier that morning. Now here's the thing. We actually don't know where Moishi was planning on going when he walked out of his house. Maybe he wasn't going south at all. Maybe he was going north. Maybe he was going to water his plants. But when we got out of the car, Aaron and I obviously thanked him profusely for driving us south. Do you want to know what he did? He thanked us for giving him the chance to do his mitzvah for the day. That's Achdut. That's unity. This man saw 3 stranded people in the UJA Walk with Israel t-shirts. One of them was wearing a kippah, and he offered to drive us home with his own child in the back seat. Now, as it turns out, Moishi Cohen used to volunteer at Chai Lifeline, where Aaron works, and the two played Jewish geography the entire ride because we are one people. And so if I'm invited to be on the editorial team of the history book of the time that we are living right now, this is how I will start the book. Vayehi Yom Shachor. There was a black day. But then the Jewish people all over the world banded together like they had never done before. They came to Israel on missions. They opened their wallets. They rallied. They walked. They baked. They cried. And they danced as one. Earlier we sang in Hallel, Mekimi me afardal. God raises up the poor from the dust. Me'ashpot yarim evyon. God lifts up the needy just from the mess. October 7th was the darkest day for our people. But then a miracle happened, and we got up and we rose again in a more unified way than we'd ever done. During Shavuot, we recall the receiving of the Torah. I was so honored to receive the Ten Commandments Aliyah. But in the third verse of the Torah, right near the beginning, we read, Vayomer Elohim Yehi Or. God said, let there be light. And then we read, Vayehi Or. And there was light. The word is Vayehi Or, not Vayehi Bimei. This past week, I felt our light, the light of the Jewish people in grand gestures, and I just felt it again with all of the babies that are here. There is hope, there is Torah, and there is a renewed feeling of unity. Let our Jewish joy continue to be a form of resistance. Chag Sameach.